You might remember a little while ago I was getting some Babylon 5 micro machines together to try and get a full set, and of course in the course of using eBay to do that I also came across this set, which was quite reasonably priced, and I remember seeing them at conventions, you know, back in the 90s, and I never really had the cash for them back then, so I thought I'd have a look at this one now. It's been in my cupboard for a while, and I just remembered that I still had it and hadn't actually done a video about it, so here we are. So, reading from the side of it, this includes a Romulan warbird, a Klingon Vorchak class attack cruiser, a Borg ship, USS Enterprise D, Ferengi Marauder, a shuttlecraft, and it's also got a, quote, limited edition USS Enterprise, which is actually this guy up here, of course, which I'm guessing is either the refit 1701 or the 1701A. If we turn it around, these have been published by Galoob, by the way. So it's the A. So only available in this set, allegedly, the 1701A. Yeah, it's all quite. I would imagine that's all quite sort of accurate information on the back there. So that's quite nice. These to get a little bit of info on what's what. Don't know what class of the shuttlecraft is as seen in the episode The Outcast. Shuttlecrafts normally have types. I'm pretty sure that's a type I recently got in an Eagle Moss set, and I don't want to say what number it is because I'll get it wrong, but I'm thinking low numerals for some reason. It's not a 7, I don't think. It might be a 5. Well, I'll get them out and show them to you and have a little sort of feel of them. I think there are some other random oddities in here as well, which I guess have just found their way into this box in the course of its history. So let's have a look at what I've actually got. Quite a lot of clattering going on. They made a bit of effort with the backdrop, which is not unreasonable. So let's have a look. Ooh, these are obviously displayed at some point. They've been put back in their boxes, in their slots in here. Although that said, I don't know. Actually, some of them are fixed, some of them aren't. Let's have a look. So, good old Borg assimilation cube. Not particularly heavy, but quite sturdy. That's, you know, there's no issues there with it breaking anytime soon, I don't think, in fairness. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I'm actually filming in daylight for once, but you can probably pick up there the difference in coloration. This is what happens when you leave plastic out in sunlight for too long. So this one is very yellow. This one is nice and clear. So I'm guessing that some of these were mounted while some were not, perhaps. But this is a very standard sort of micro machine stand format. I'm guessing maybe they didn't even bother putting the Borg cube on a stand for very obvious reasons, but it does actually have a stand hole. So now then, let's have a look. So I've underestimated the potential need for applying scissors to get. I can't believe they've actually used little plastic ties to fix these guys on. This was a thing back in the day. There was this time period where, well, mind you, having said that, you know, even buying some stuff for my son these days, although he's kind of out of the toy phase now, but when I was buying stuff for him, they do still do this. They have these plastic ties on everything to try and slow down people who might be trying to pinch them out of the store, out of the packaging. I imagine there are those who would, unfortunately. So let me just try and free this warbird. I actually find that the Micro Machines' attention to detail is very impressive considering their scale. And the thing is, you get all this detail at this incredibly sort of small scale, but you know that's got really good painting differentiation on it there. It's a little bit difficult for the camera to pick it up because it is so small, but I'll try and hold it steady so it will focus in for you. but that's a really good representation of the warbird. I mean, dare I say it, I actually prefer that over my my eagle moss, because the eagle moss painting on the warbird is quite odd. I don't think it's just mine, because it seems to show up in other people's pictures of it as well, and other people don't seem to mind it, but I always thought it was a bit odd, because maybe I just expect it to be more uniform. But you see, that's quite, even that is, I mean, yes, it's a sort of, it's like, I can't call it plastic, it feels almost rubbery, but it's not. I don't know what you'd call it. But it is a really good example of a Roman warbird. I mean, it's blatantly obvious what it is. The neck's a little bit skewed, but it's really not bad at all. For display purposes, that's clearly, you know exactly what it's supposed to be. So I'm quite happy with these as conceptually. I don't see that there's anything wrong with them at all. So the stands are supposed to go, according to the side of the box, the diagonal of the stands goes towards the back of the ship. So that's apparently is the correct way to display them like that. So actually, thinking as I put that down on the table, that's like the introduction to Lower Decks, isn't it? With the Romulan warbirds attacking a ball cube. That's an inadvertent on my part. Now my Enterprise A refit appears to have freed itself. But fair dues to them. I mean, they've even managed to get Come on, focus, hello, focus. Okay, well, you have to take my word for it, perhaps, that there is actually, there it goes, NCC 1701A on there, you see? Now, fair dues, and I say, the attention to detail on that, they didn't have to go to that much effort, because I can't imagine there were that much in the day, but, the detail is there. Sorry, this probably isn't the best sort of camera to be using for this sort of extreme close-up work, but you can see, it's got the essence of it. The nacelles are a slightly skew whiff, but it's not like this is a young set anymore. Let's face it. I mean, it's probably been sort of 30 odd years since this was. No, maybe not that much. 25 years, maybe, since this was a thing. I'm not exactly quick off the mark getting some of these. Has to be said. All those guys around. Okay, let's have a look what else we've got. Apologies for the twisting noises in the background as I try and free them from their packaging. So as I say, I never had any of these at the time, unfortunately. The nearest I came was having some die-cast Ertl. That's spelled ERTL. Had some Ertl models that came out in line with the movies, and of course I had my Corgi ones as well from when I was very little. But they never had the sort of the range of ships that the Micro Machines ended up having, courtesy of the Next Generation. Because of course in the films, when you stop and think about it, even coming into the Next Generation era, the films very rarely have the breadth of ships that you see over the course of an entire series, of course, inevitably, I suppose. I mean, perhaps that goes without saying, but the effects crew, even on the series, were always trying their best to have quite a wide range of ships. I mean, some got reused, and in the course of buying the Eagle Moss series, I've got the leaflets that come with those, and you do find out quite a lot more, and you do sort of realise just how many of prior ships are embedded into what you think are different ships, but are actually the original, the old ship with bits bolted onto it. So, I mean, it's very cleverly done, and of course, we were in the era of pre-CGI at that point, so it wasn't that they could just create stuff off the cuff. They had to reuse the physical models that they had, because that was the only way they could do it in those days. And there you go. I've talked long enough to give myself time to get that little dinky guy out. So he's about thumbnail size, but he's got the 1701D very clearly on it. Got little warp nacelles quite nicely done on the side there as well. So I mean, fair dues. It's not like they're just sort of throwaway, and they are solid. They feel really solid. I don't think I paid particularly over the odds for this either, as I recall. It wasn't a ridiculously sort of expensive thing to do. I'm just going to put this blind down, see if that gives me better light, because I thought the daylight would be an improvement, but in some respects perhaps it isn't. So let me do this, descend into darkness. It's actually it probably gives better ambient light for you to have a look at, and there's the room light on as well. Yeah, it doesn't help massively, does it? I suppose, but apologies. I know I shouldn't be messing with this sort of stuff mid-video, but anyway. Does anyone care if there are sort of graphics on the front end of these videos? I do it for my Babylon 5 videos. Just because I was caught up in the moment when I was preparing to do that series, because I knew it was going to be a very long series. This I tend to do more off the cuff, because I'm not sort of predictably buying things, you know, for basically I just happen upon things on occasion and go for it if I have some spare cash, which is less common these days. So there's little teeny tiny galaxy class. Bless it. But still, you see, I mean, this, you know, the detail on the saucer section there. I'm just moving it around on the off chance that the autofocus can actually catch up with it. I get it really close, it just won't have any other choice but to focus on it. I don't know. It can't quite cope with it. Sometimes it gets it really nicely, other times not so much. But it's again, you know, they've definitely tried really hard to get the detail on there in a ridiculously small area. So I mean, you wouldn't feel hard done to as a fan buying those at the time, I don't think at all, because you know, you can immediately see what they're going for, and they're in no way, you know, a sort of a failed attempt to do it. So fair dues to them. Here's one of this is actually one of my favourites. I really like this ship. Because let's face it, I mean, in the course of the movies, we didn't see a huge we didn't see a huge range of different ships, as I was saying before. So when this appeared in Next Generation, I was like, yes, because this was probably the first new style of Klingon battle cruiser we'd actually seen for a very long time, and it was clearly a sort of emerging of Federation and Klingon technology. So this is the Vorchak class attack cruiser. We see these a lot in Deep Space Nine as well, being used as the sort of the frontline warship. Before we see the Nagvar class come into play as well, but they're very uncommon. So these guys are the sort of the main line new battle cruisers that are coming in to replace the D7s and the like. So I really was quite excited to see that for the first time. I think they got brought in during the Klingon Civil War act, you know, arc even. So they were very, very, you know, they retain all sort of the classic stylings of a Klingon ship, but they bring it far more up to date and they make it far more interesting as well. So I thought that was very clever of them. It's just a shame we never see it in any of the movies. Movies stick with the Klingon birds of prey absolutely like Galoob, because I guess they think people are more familiar with that style. But of course, then you get into the scale issues with which variety of bird of prey they decided to, you know, they decided to make them. There's a Burrell class and the Cavort class, if I'm pronouncing those correctly. And here's a little chap who I have got from Eagle Moss. There we go. Negotiated him out. And of course, this was the Ferengi Marauder, and these guys, the Ferengi, I think when they were first introduced, they were supposed to be a new big bad for the Next Generation crew to deal with, but actually they ended up being comic relief, far more so. I mean, there were times when they did cause problems, certainly, but at the end of the day, they were definitely relegated to comic relief ultimately, and it's never really clear what they're up to. Whoops, what they're up to during the Dominion War and such like. We never really see them engaged in conflicts. They fly this way. But it's they were quite sort of distinctively coloured. They were sort of orange to distinguish them from pretty much anyone else going. But and their sort of ship design is quite unique. But we just didn't see a lot of them in the end. So that's pretty good value. That, you know, you got seven micro machines in a single pack. That's not bad going. If you're trying to build a collection, you know, that's a fair spread. Only problem is now that I've realised what stands for them, I've got to find somewhere to put them, which could be interesting. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's allegedly that's a limited edition collector's set. These were the other things that were floating around in the box. Just a couple of Star Trek First Contact little postcards. Those were just randomly floating around in the box. So there you go. Good film, actually. Good film. Yeah. Okay. So so that's that. So that's one I've had on my list to do for a while. So I shall duly tick that off my list. And if I do buy anything else randomly interesting off eBay, obviously I'll do another video on it. But for the time being, that's it from me. Cheers for now.